From cartoons to crime shows, there's one detail that never seems to change: police officers and donuts. From Chief Wiggum in The Simpsons to small town sheriffs on television, police officers and donuts have become one of popular culture's most recognizable pairings. Few professions are so closely tied to a single food, but this wasn't always a joke, and the stereotype didn't just come from nowhere. So how did a sugary snack become permanently linked to the image of the American police officer? Here on Feed the Intrigue, we uncover the hidden meanings and everyday mysteries all around us. So how did a donut become one of policing's most famous symbols? This deep dive tells us the real story and will change how you see the stereotype forever. To understand how this whole cops and donuts thing began, we have to go back to a very different America. In the 1940s through to the 1960s, before the 24-hour fast food boom, options for a quick bite during late night shifts were limited. Many officers working overnight needed a place to grab a snack, a hot cup of coffee, and a moment of rest. Back then, cops on the night shift faced a simple but frustrating problem. Nothing was open. Most restaurants shut their doors by 8 or 9 p.m. Coffee shops closed early. Even diners, famous for being always open today, weren't truly 24 hours back then. Donut shops were some of the only stores open late at night because they needed to get ready for the morning rush. As a result, they were some of the best options for cops who needed a quick bite to eat, a place to fill out reports, or to simply sit and have a rest. They provided a warm, welcoming environment where officers could fuel up for the rest of their shift. Unlike bars or diners, donut shops weren't crowded or noisy, making them an ideal stop for hard-working officers. During odd hours of the night, many donut shops actively tried to entice police officers to stop in for a snack by giving them donuts on the house. The Dunkin' Donuts founder William Rosenberg claimed that he wanted to make sure franchises were hospitable places for police who, once in there, protected their stores. The relationship between donuts and police officers didn't start out as a joke. In fact, it was a point of pride for some stores. Police departments sometimes had to step in and remind their officers that accepting free donuts could give an impression of favour to a person or business that could undermine their roles as impartial law enforcement. Even so, the donut had already become married to police in popular culture, and we'll touch on this more in a minute. But first, there was another key reason why these cops and donuts went so well together. Once police officers started stopping by donut shops, the habit didn't just stick by accident. It stuck because donuts were almost perfectly designed for the realities of police work. Unlike full meals, donuts didn't require a table, silverware, or even time. You could grab one with one hand, coffee in the other, and be back in your patrol car within minutes. For an officer on duty, that mattered. Police work doesn't just come with scheduled lunch breaks. Calls can come in at any second, and the last thing that you want is a meal that forces you to stop what you're doing, or one that makes you make a mess in the car. Donuts solved all of that. They were portable, and if you had to drop anything and respond to a call, you could do it instantly with no plates left behind and no food wasted. Donuts have always been an affordable treat. Given the modest salaries of many officers, a quick stop for a donut and a coffee was a cost-effective way to stay energized. And then there was the coffee that often came with it. Strong, hot, and always available, coffee wasn't just a preference, it was a survival tool for staying alert through the quiet, exhausting hours of the night. Donuts and coffee became inseparable, and police officers were right in the middle of that ritual. This led to a boom of this portrayal in movies and TV shows, with the most famous cartoon on the planet blowing the stereotype out of proportion. At first, police officers and donut shops had nothing to do with jokes. It was just a routine, quiet, practical, and invisible to most people. But once something becomes familiar enough, pop culture notices, and it takes on a life of its own. And that is certainly what happened with the donut stereotype for police. By the 80s and 90s, it was incorporated into television and movies at a high level. Suddenly, cops weren't just stopping by donut shops, they were defined by them on everyone's TV screens. Cartoons began leaning into this heavily, when writers realized that a cop holding a donut was a convenient and recognizable prop. The Simpsons infamously etched this idea into the minds of every 90s baby, with the Chief Wiggum's character becoming a pioneer of this image and arguably freezing it in place until the idea became permanent. As the stereotype began to appear all over the media, it opened up the stereotype to become negative as officers that were enjoying a donut were portrayed as lazy, unhealthy, and incompetent, often too focused on consuming a sugary snack that they failed to notice a crime happening in plain sight. The stereotype even spread internationally. British TV host Jeremy Clarkson famously mocked American police, joking that US cops looked more like they belonged in donut shops than on foot patrol. And Clarkson doubled down on this by saying it's a global stereotype Americans themselves export through TV and movies. He wasn't wrong about that. And once a joke is repeated enough times, it becomes commonplace. The donut joke is often used by outsiders commenting on America, making references to things like American excess and comfort culture. Police forces all over North America didn't just sit back and be the butt of the joke though. Many actually leaned into it. You'll see donut imagery used in police charity events, joked about on official law enforcement social media accounts, or tied into fundraisers with local donut shops. By doing this, they are making light of the joke, but also ironically taking control of the stereotype. The reality that donuts were simply convenient late night fuel got lost. What remained was the image, the gag and the expectation. Pop culture didn't just reflect the stereotype, it amplified it and made it an iconic symbol of the police force. Today, the reality looks very different from the stereotype. Modern police work isn't just built around donut shops and coffee counters, it's built around long hours, constant movement and increasing physical demands. Many departments now emphasize fitness, health standards and regular training in many ways that barely existed decades ago. Patrol cars have changed, schedules have changed, even the food options have changed. 24-hour diners, fast food chains, delivery apps and gas stations mean officers can grab almost anything at any hour. The late night food shortage that once pushed cops towards donut shops is mostly gone, but still, today, police officers eat no differently than anyone else working long shifts. Some pack meals, some grab protein bars, and some skip meals altogether when calls pile up. So when you strip away the jokes, the cartoons and the cliches, the answer to why cops love donuts turns out to be surprisingly simple. The donut stereotype was never about police officers loving donuts. It's about timing. It's about working through the quietest hours of the night when cities shut down and the options disappeared. It was about convenience, affordability, and the reality of a job that doesn't pause for meal breaks. Donut shops just happened to be there when almost nothing else was. Over time, a practical routine turned into a familiar image. Even as policing evolved, the donut remained frozen in time, less of a reflection of behaviour and more of a cultural echo of how things once were. And that image got repeated and exaggerated until it stuck to symbolise police. So the next time you hear a cop in a donut joke or see it in a movie or on a TV show, you'll know the real story behind it. Its origins are not from the indulgence or laziness, but from practicality, timing and convenience. What TV show or movie made you associate cops with donuts? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe because there's always a need to feed the intrigue.